amazed that they were talking about her. She brought her eyebrows to the bridge of her nose and thought about the fact that she asked if he liked the dust bunny. She was interested in how he usually behaves if he receives such questions. She was thinking about the fact that he would change his mind when suddenly Theodore asked what it meant. He asked if she thought he was attracted to that girl. The next moment the man grinned in response to the question posed and said that it was impossible. The girl became a little depressed when she heard these words from her future husband. Prince Irugo told his frightened friend that she knew this very well. His heart was unchanging. The princess thought about the fact that it is obvious that there is no love in a political marriage. She thought about Diana, that she did not look like a servant. If this is Theodora's beloved, then this may play into her hands and she will have another trump card up her sleeve. Meanwhile, the girl finished combing her hair and told the princess that she would take her to her bedchamber. Alexandra said no need and asked to take her better to Theodore. The maid was surprised and said okay. And although the princess really wanted to rest, now she had a chance to get rid of the watching eyes. At the same time, the servants accompanying the princess, who had come from Sylvanus, inspected the interior of the palace. At the same time, Prince Irugo had already changed his clothes and was sitting in his office studying documents while Diana was pouring tea. The girl with blue hair turned her gaze towards the prince and was glad that Theodore was still the same. The man sat casually on a chair. He was relaxed, like a predator that is difficult to approach, a wild beast that is elegant and dangerous. She was surprised when he unexpectedly stood up for the princess. When the admiration suddenly came to an end, the maid entered the room and addressed His Highness Theodore. A maid in a greenish dress announced that the princess had arrived. The man and girl were surprised. Exhaling heavily, the guy with golden eyes, looking at the maid, told her to let the girl in. Instantly, the gazes of blue-eyed Diana and black-haired Theodore were directed at the girl who entered the office. Like a princess with silver hair, amethyst eyes, in a pure white outfit and the purest fair skin. The man could not believe that it was really the same person in front of him. He asked in surprise if she was a princess. Alexandra nodded and thought that not only he but also other residents reacted this way, wondering why. In front of her, the princess saw extremely discouraged and stunned people who were simply frozen in a stupor. She came closer and sat down on the sofa, thinking that perhaps she was being compared to that lump of dust. She turned her head to the side and spotted a teapot in Diana's hands. She wanted tea. The girl looked at her embarrassedly, and when the princess reached for the cup on the table, the blue-eyed girl suddenly shuddered and came to her senses. She completely forgot and apologized to the princess. The girl was wondering what to do if she thought that she was ignoring her. Diana could not allow a conflict to break out in front of Theodore, but Alexandra did not even plan to do so. Hesitantly, she said that she was glad to meet her and introduced herself as Diana. She thought that it was luck that the first princess had arrived, and not the second, who was considered incredibly beautiful. But it turned out that there was no reason for joy. Her hands were shaking, and the princess thought that she knew her because she saw it with the help of the emperor's eye. Prince Irugo Theodore continued to watch all this, not accepting anything and still coming to his senses. But the next moment he told Diana that that was enough from her and she could go. The girl shuddered in surprise. Gritting her teeth, she sweetly and politely bowed to the princess goodbye and quickly left the office. After a while, the man sat down opposite his future wife, and looking at her menacingly, asked why. The girl asked in surprise what this meant. Theodore asked if she wasn't looking to meet him because she had something to say. Alexandra said that they would soon become a married couple and asked if they couldn't just drink tea together and talk. Prince Irugo looked away with his golden eyes and said uncertainly that they were already together. The girl frowned at him and took a sip of tea and thought that he thought she herself volunteered to marry him. Everything was going wrong just as she planned. Suddenly, her eyes widened sharply. The tea was incredibly tasty. A blush even formed on her cheeks. It was the first time she drank such high-quality tea. Although she didn't come here of her own free will, she didn't even think that it would be so good. But it would be better to keep it a secret from Theodore. And then she said that she had not come here to have a nice chat with him and would now get down to business. And having gathered her thoughts, she hesitated a little and quickly invited him to start a business. The man's eyes opened wide, and he looked at his future wife in great surprise. Neither love nor power had much meaning for Princess Alexandra. All she needed was money, a lot of money. And with this money, she will be able to buy her freedom. She will go wherever she wants, look at what she wants and no one else will be able to lock her up. And then she will look with both eyes at those visions that appear only on the surface of the water. To do this, she needs a lot of money, as well as joining forces with Theodore. But the man did not really like this business. Alexandra thought that even though she saw her past life with the help of the Emperor's eye, in this world the entrepreneur's illness became the cause of trouble. She worriedly began to wave her hand and said that she did not have the entrepreneur's illness, she did not ask him for a loan, and did not ask him to invest. But of course, if he does this, then such a business plan is quite acceptable. But Theodore's face was already twisted terribly. He looked even more irritated. Here, the princess already said that she really didn't ask about that. Could he not look at her like that? Turning his head away, he said that she was not going to use the prince's money as an investment in business. This needed to be sorted out. Sasha said that she honestly wasn't going to. It didn't work out. She only spoke to people a few times, so her way of conveying information became strange, and she said that the arranged marriage politically entwined them together. Therefore, it would be nice to create a victorious alliance in which they will help each other. She was not talking about strong friendship, but about business. The man was carried away by her words about a victorious alliance. The prince thought she was brave and wondered if someone had told him this before and agreed to these conditions. But then he asked what she would do if he just helped, asked what she could give him. Then the first Princess Alexandra addressed Prince Irugo by name. The guy straightened his back. Meanwhile, the girl, clasping her hands together, asked if there was anything he wanted from her. Prince Theodore's golden snake eyes widened in amazement at such speeches and proposals, and Alexandra, smiling, thought about making him speak faster, because she already generally knows what he wants. She knew a lot, thanks to the Emperor's eye. When suddenly the man suddenly turned his head to the side, she frowned and pursed her lips. Looking at him in surprise, the girl thought that he looked as if he could not look at her. The guy asked displeasedly what she could do with her thin hands, which looked like they couldn't even lift a fork. The princess was surprised and looked at her palms. She said uncertainly that she had ordinary hands of a Sylvan girl. He did not trust her at all. Well, she suddenly said, they should sit down at the negotiating table where she could show her talents, and standing up, she offered to go. Theodore asked where they were going, and Alexandra, opening the door, said that before signing, you need to check the goods. At the same time, the people on the veranda were discussing the arriving princess, wondering if she knew what a royal wedding was. When the curly-haired girl said that they were saying that she was just sick, but in fact the princess had a mental illness, her friends were horrified. They say her consciousness constantly leaves her and then returns to normal, and because of this, she was kept in isolation for 10 years. Everyone in the palace knows about this secret. Her friend was horrified and could not believe that His Highness Theodore would marry such a girl. Then the guy said that if His Highness Theodore becomes the crown prince, then this girl will become the wife of the heir to the throne. The lady in the blue dress said that this was true, and Irugo's authority would be undermined. The curly-haired girl said that His Highness Theodore is now His Majesty's favorite, and the war is over. Of course, he performed great feats on the battlefield, but running a country is something completely different, she said. So His Highness Harold is much more suitable. But suddenly the guy told the girl to shut up. The man and the lady in a blue dress who had been chatting incessantly before suddenly looked back. Behind them, his head raised proudly, walked His Highness Theodore, holding his hands in the pockets of his cardigan. The girl's girlfriends were interested in where he was going, but His Majesty was now in that direction. The girl with curls said that you need to start watching your words. With the end of the war, the prince began to be in the palace often. The chatterbox said that she still wouldn't get used to meeting him. After all, his appearance was simply excellent. But his beauty was not a vice. His straight nose and golden eyes. When you don't look at him, he is so noble and handsome. His heart fluttered every time. Even his black hair, like darkness, sparkled, sparkled, sparkled. What? Why do they suddenly sparkle? The ladies thought, when suddenly, right behind the wide and powerful body, they saw an innocently white, beautiful princess. They looked at each other, and there were many thoughts in their heads. They could not believe that this was Sylvanka, a beggar in rags. They didn't understand anything, and then the chatterbox finally said that she looked completely different. The curly-haired girl said to quickly go to the palace, and the guy was simply in shock. At the same time, the ruler of the Plains of Blood and Iron Monsters, King Irugo, Nathan, was told that the princess wanted to meet with him. The servant confirmed this and said that His Highness Theodore had also come. The king thoughtfully said that the official audience with the delegation would take place tomorrow afternoon, and asked why the princess had come separately. When a girl with pink hair asked her father why don't they meet her, the girl smiled and said that she was also interested in seeing the princess from the rumors. After all, she would become a member of their family. And smilingly, she asked her father if this was so. This girl was the second Princess Elizabeth. Lisa, her father, knew that she and other princes and princesses went to see her daughter-in-law. He furrowed his brows and a smile appeared on his face. It was cute that her intentions were so obvious. The king said that he had no government affairs, so he saw no reason for refusal and said to call them. Lisa hugged her dad by the neck. Smiling sweetly at her father, she thought that she was becoming more cheerful. But in her heart, she was cunning. She was going to make that dirty princess a laughingstock right in front of her father. It seemed to her that Theodore was worried because he had brought that beggar woman. And perhaps, Elizabeth suggested, he would beg to change the wedding conditions. But this is unlikely. She was worried because her father stubbornly wanted to get the princess from Sylvanus, but she, on the contrary, did not seem too valuable. She joyfully asked who came there. No one, she thought. No one could be more reliable in her father's favorites than she, when suddenly she heard the princess say hello. The girl curtsied and thanked him for accepting this unexpected request, and introduced herself as the first princess of Sylvanus, Alexandra. King Nathan gasped in surprise. The daughter next to him was simply terribly shocked by who she saw. She had graceful gestures and precise manners. He was told that it was not the second daughter who was coming, but the first one, who was isolated, so he did not have high expectations. But at first glance, everything was very good, and the king said that she was probably tired while traveling such a long way. The king asked the servant why he was still here and told him to bring tea with sweets. The man obeyed His Majesty. Meanwhile, Sasha was happy that she could easily remember what she saw through the Emperor's eye, although she was very worried that her body would not listen to her. But judging by their reaction, she made a good first impression. Suddenly, they were served an unusual yellow jelly, which the princess immediately noticed. She remembered that she saw this dessert through the eye of the Emperor, yellow and sweet and sour, jelly frin-fran. This is a special dish. Unlike ordinary jelly, it is more elastic and is distinguished by its sweet and sour taste. If a famous chef would praise it, then it would be possible to sell free fran even in hostile countries, like Sylvanus. She personally saw the original. Therefore, she wanted to try it a little, no, very much, when suddenly she jerked sharply and stopped. Theodore noticed this. Alexandra thought that now was not the time. How could she eat when she had not yet proven her worth? And here she was coveting someone else's property. She knew that her future husband saw her behavior and, looking at him mentally but confidently, said not to worry. She would definitely demonstrate her ability to sell. Theodore really was watching his future wife, and he was terribly worried. He wondered if she was really going to seriously sell something to her father. But not only the future wife and husband watched all this, the groom's father also kept an eye on all this. From the father's side, everything looked much different. More tenderly, he could not believe that they seemed to have a good relationship. As the king said that there would be an audience tomorrow afternoon, but he asked, she had a reason why she wanted to meet with him. The princess confirmed this and said that the reason was something else, but she could not finish. Several people loudly entered the room and a male voice said enthusiastically, "Wow." Anne asked that the princess came to visit her father and said that it was great. It was an honor for him to see such a high-ranking person. He asked his brother if he was waiting for her, because according to rumors, she was beautiful, because their empire was famous for beautiful women for thousands of years. Taunting his brother, he said that he was probably overflowing with happiness when he suddenly stopped. He saw a beautiful girl with silver hair, a gentle face, and enchanting eyes. His sister, the fourth Princess Samira, was surprised and wondered if she looked different before. Her sister, the first Princess Patricia, shyly and worriedly covered herself with a fan and thought that they really called her a beggar. At the same time, the third Prince Michael was simply crazy about the girl's beauty and continued to drool over her. Their brother, Prince Theodore, looked at them gloomily and thought that all princes and princesses were close to the queen. Not knowing that the princess's appearance had changed, they deliberately praised her to humiliate her. Such an unexpected situation, before showing the product. And while he was wondering what she, the princess, would do, the girl fixed her beautiful eyes on the guests. Just then she rose from the back of the chair,